Vivian, so happy to have you here today for Future Fridays. It's one of my favorite things to do to highlight the amazing stories of women building in the space and how they got there. And you recently were on the top 10 of NIR's Women in Web3. And so I'm so excited to share what you're doing with SOLAIRE and what you've done going from this really interesting background of merchandising, everything from Tiffany's and Harry Winston. Um, and now to actually building your own thing in this space and all the things that go with that. I know we're going to dive into like what it means to have like personalized digital memorabilia and digital transactions and all those things, which I think will be super cool to dive into. So before we get started, I would love if you could share just where are you calling in from and what are you working on these days?
First of all, thank you for having me, Elena. Such a pleasure to be here and lovely meeting a fellow entrepreneur who's been leading a wonderful podcast highlighting women entrepreneurs for the last 2 years. So I'm calling from New York City, which is the headquarters as well of SOLAIRE, right here in my living room. So yeah, these days we've been just building SOLAIRE, and we're, all of us is going to what we call a Web3 crypto winter, but that only means that the fittest survives, which is why we don't take that as a setback. It's actually a motivation for us to go harder and keep trying harder. So we're also very fortunate to be selected as one of the cohort members at Outlier Ventures and Farfetch Open Innovation. So very fortunate together with 6 other startups that are all playing in the fashion and Web3 space and see how we can change the landscape together. So yeah, we cannot wait to tell you more, and let's dive in.
Also, you're one of the top 100 women of the future, so it's perfect for this podcast of Friday Futures. I can't wait to hear your vision for where future and fashion are going. So to get started, I'd just love to hear, how did you go from this more traditional world of merchandising, merchandise management, and then ultimately head of merchandising to then decide, this is the future. We need to apply Web3 technologies to the POS and beyond. So I'd love to hear that story.
It's basically those pain points that I've lived and breathed through for my career. I've actually done more than just merchandising and fashion. I've done marketing and sales operations. So I have a good 360 view of the entire fashion industry. So, and some of the pain points that I wish I had the solution to solve for. One of them is when I was at Tiffany, I recognized that customers come in and buy jewelry, but they're not buying jewelry because they need another piece of necklace. They're buying the story behind the brand, buying the craftsmanship, buying the design inspiration. If it's higher price point, they're buying the origin of the stone, the certification, and any brand that is selling fashion product or physical merch has to put together the story behind it to either put it online or give it to the sales professional to sell it. And then, but at the end, customers also wants it. So how do we deliver that information to customers? So then when they're wearing it, they have a story to tell and share with their friends and post on social media. And for certain higher end clients, Tiffany or other brands used to print like a product book or catalog with all the information to give to the customer. If it's high end, it has all the certification that is like this big. So I thought at this day and age, why don't we put that into a nice little digital packet that can be delivered to the customer's inbox? And even better now with Web3, we can deliver that on blockchain so that it's permanently attached to the physical product, permanently given to the customer who's the owner, and also be able to have that multimedia storytelling capability instead of just print media. And then that led to the idea of having a consumer wallet. For any consumers today, if you want to have true ownership of your product, you have a bank account for your money, you have a crypto wallet for your crypto, but why not have a consumer wallet for all of your fashion investments? I think Carrie Bradshaw famously said in Sex and the City, I like all of my investments in front of me hanging in my closet. So it's the same idea, but in a fashion or consumer wallet. So that led to this idea of building a retail-focused wallet that has the same foundation and security of a typical crypto wallet, but with all the bells and whistles that's needed for the modern-day fashion consumer. And as we sort of went on this journey of sort of evangelizing the fashion community about the need of having this, have that on your brand's website to replace the decade-old user order history, which is just a list of things in a way to storytell and clientele your consumer in a much larger way. We also found an interesting niche within the art and sports and entertainment industry. So those industries, so culture and fashion always come hand in hand. And there's a lot of things that fashion can learn from those industries. Number one, they've been making money from digital content and in real life experiences for a long time. But fashion, typically the only revenue stream is from selling of the physical product. So it's time to wake up and see what are the other money that you are leaving on the table. So our technology, or blockchain technology itself, lends itself nicely in the way to merge the physical and the digital together, so then you can monetize on both. You're already spending all that money on marketing content. Instead of giving it away for free, you will be able to monetize and add more value to the customer with the product. A second point is that using the wallet address, we also enable brands or artists or athletes to better locate and understand the consumer behavior. Like if you are, say, a musician or athlete, you know that your fans is buying your merch, going to your concerts and games, paying for your digital content. But how do you build that 360 profile of that one fan and know that this is my super fan that I need to build better rapport and have better loyalty with? So the wallet address now becomes the new CRM. That you will be able to leverage the wallet address to identify and locate the fans' activity across different things as long as it's on chain. And then that will also lead you to better consumer insight, better loyalty. And on the product side, which is sort of the bread and butter of me as a former merchant, is that we manage the product lifecycle with high value products, or literally anything today, that there is an afterlife. Once it's sold, I always wonder, where did it go? Especially with jewelry, there is no end of life. They basically last forever. And then at some point you see it on a secondary market. At some point you see it in an auction house, and you wonder what happened in between. There's no sort of trace of history. And for the customer that are buying the secondary market or auction houses, you wonder where that piece of history is, and you want that to validate the authenticity of the product. As the owner, now having your ownership proven on blockchain, it adds a level of security to your ownership. And as you resell that, you add the validity to your ownership to that resale. So all of that basically come hand in hand. I realized that, wait, blockchain, consumer wallet can basically solve all of those problems. And what I like is that, in an efficient economy, everybody has to benefit. And what I love about this is that blockchain also enables not just artists now, not just NFT artists, but anyone, any creator, whether you're a brand, athlete, musician, to be able to make royalty from whatever things are getting resold, whether it's digital content or physical content. And I think that for decades, the fashion industry has been leaving money on the table when it comes to resale, especially luxury fashion. They've been sort of in denial that this is happening, but it's happening with or without you. Why don't you leverage blockchain to add more transparency into the resale experience, be able to protect your product in a much bigger way, and be able to monetize from resale? So it's win-win-win for everyone.
I love this. You've shared so many real applications beyond like NFT drops and what you just shared. Which we could go into detail of all of them, right? Like product passports, digital twins, personalized digital memorabilia, the CRM communications, the way that the wallet can be tracked, almost like a cookie, but across blockchain transactions. One of the things that comes up often when we think of and talk to leaders, brand managers who are trying to figure out how to apply this technology is just a general fear of two things. One, that it's so new that they don't really know like how it applies and if really a customer wallet is relevant. Like maybe that's just a really small niche of consumers who even have a wallet or know what a wallet is, and they don't want to be responsible for the onboarding per se, maybe even for themselves. It's intimidating. And the other aspect is just, the crypto winter that you mentioned, right? Like that, it seems like, is this just a trend? We saw, 2 years really of basically luxury brands focusing primarily on NFT drops as the primary use of this technology. And I'm just curious, like, what is the unique insight that you have of where the future is going that you would tell to those people to say, hey, this is why it's worth paying attention?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think that, it's growing pains, right? If you look at the trend of technology, it's like the economy, everything is cyclical. We went through the same thing at the turn of the century, was the internet bubble. People were internet is evil. That's the beginning of Web 1. I know a mentor of mine who had an online publishing company. She was trying to raise money in 2000. People like, take the word internet out of your pitch deck, and was like, but we are a internet publishing company. So people, and then the same thing happened with Wi-Fi, with wireless internet. And I was talking to someone yesterday who was early in mobile payment, and said that they went through the same thing. In the beginning, you see a boom, and then people start getting critical, they're getting cynical, they're like, well, this might not work, and then you hit sort of a dip, but then eventually it will come back up. And I think that because there was so much hype at the early days around Web3, that there is a lot of misconception built around the true essence of Web3. If you look at it from a holistic view, it's basically enhanced internet. It's your enhanced database. Instead of paying for, RAM, ROM on your own side, paying for cloud. Back in the day, people said cloud was evil because now people can see your information, right? And then now you're having this on a public database where everyone can see, but it's also protected, encrypted from everyone, so that it's immutable, that we know that we can trust the information stored in that database. If you understand that technology as a core, we're basically moving our data infrastructure from a centralized cloud-based structure to this blockchain structure. And with that, everything else comes more naturally. There was just a lot of culture play in like the value of NFT and its use of NFT, where the use of it sort of surpasses the actual technology of itself, which is but I see that not as a setback, but as, a sort of a necessary evil for things to turn for the better. A lot of things come hand in hand. I think that I hope as we sort of get out of the recession that we're in right now, as we recover, a true recovery from COVID, and then we will be able to see a much better and greater use of the technology. The recession actually happens for a good reason, that there's a lot of people that are trying to use the technology just to win, rug pull project, projects that are looking to make quick buck are actually no longer in business. It's companies like us that are actually building valuable, long-lasting, true solutions that can solve problems will live and will stand and will be here to actually move the industry or the world forward using Web3.
I love that. And when you're thinking about the projects or the people or the companies that you feel like are on the leading edge or that are inspiring you, what comes to mind? Like, who's pretty active and just sort of trudging forward and creating really interesting things?
It's not sponsored, but I chose to be in the Near ecosystem for a reason, because I really love their vision. They're the first layer 1 blockchain that said that we want to be enterprise, because in order for to accelerate mass market adoption, we're not here for individuals to flip NFTs for more money. We want to work with enterprise to be their blockchain database, to have good utilities around what they're doing and be able to add value. And they're also the first layer 1 blockchain to also be building what they call BOSS, which is a open ecosystem, to say that the days of trying to compete with each other as a layer 1 blockchain is over. We should all work together. It's one connected database that you shouldn't be restricted from, say, I'm on one chain and I cannot move to the other chain. It shouldn't be that. So let's all see how we can work together and provide a much more cohesive ecosystem for new users to come in. And to your earlier point about the onboarding process, and I think we're all doing our best, us and Near and a lot of other companies, to remove the user frictions. And I mean, the technology is there, but as more companies putting in efforts and solutions to make the user experience better, it's going to be as easy as logging onto your Wi-Fi and logging onto your email. And that's exactly what we're doing. And we've actually designed our technology exactly to do that. If you can log into your email, you will be able to use our wallet. As simple as that.
And what advice would you give to somebody getting started, maybe who wants to utilize this technology, but realizes maybe there's some time for that like adoption to happen? Like, what do you feel brand managers, leaders, executives, people listening can be doing right now in crypto winter to be ready for the time where it's like, oh yeah, cloud computing, the internet. And what are you personally doing to stay ahead of the curve?
Don't lead with technology. You are a fashion company, you're selling the product. Consumer are coming to you to buy the product, to buy the story. The technology is a vehicle to deliver that message, to make the user experience better, to connect the physical and the digital. We're not selling the technology first. And so we're very different from, when you're not launching an NFT project using your IP. So think of that as, you use a payment provider for your e-commerce, you use an inventory management system for inventory, you use a CRM system for your customer database. So it's the same technology. Now you have a customer facing tool to better tell the story, to do better clienteling and be able to have better client insight. So it's just one additional tool in your toolkit. And don't be intimidated by the language, because we take all of that out of the vocabulary, and just provide a good experience, focus on what you do the best. And once you deliver that, customer will focus on the product and the content. The technology will be seamless. It will be in the background. It will just be a tool that make them be able to connect with the product in a much bigger way.
If you could just share what SOLAIRE is solving and who would be best, if they're listening right now, best able to utilize it. What is it all about?
So one is fashion. On the fashion side, if you are a fashion brand with a story to tell, that you have meaningful stories that you can connect your customer with, you will be a client for us. That way we can help you to build a connection between your physical merch with the story and be able to deliver to the right customer and build that bond with the customer, and to capture the lifetime value of your customer and of the product as it goes into resale. If you are on the entertainment and sports side, we help you to identify your true fan and cultivate them into a super fan. You have all of these fans sort of floating through different channels. How do you know who they are and what they're doing and how they can best connect and support you? We leveraging the consumer or the fan wallet, you will be able to identify and build that lifelong relationship with your fan.
I love that. And then how can we stay in touch as the project grows and develops, and also with you personally as an amazing founder in the space?
Thank you so much. So you can find us on mysolaire.xyz. We're also active on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find us, just search either SOLAIRE Official or SOLAIRE Web3. You will find us.
Amazing. Well, we'll definitely be following along. I can't wait to see all the things that unfold in this industry. I couldn't agree more that now's the time to really to be educated and to grow an understanding of how this is going to just be applied across so many different aspects. So appreciate the work that you're doing and excited to know you.
Likewise, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you. Thank you for having me.